welcome to day 2 of remote learning. I'm your host, Mrs. Barzy, and we have so much for you today, so let's just go ahead and get started.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Barzy. I got a question.
Oh, Jake Wellen, I didn't see you there.
Yeah, can I do the historical trivia of the day?
Well, I was gonna introduce, alright, sure, Jake Wellen, go ahead.
Alright, so today's historical trivia of the day is brought to you by Seth. Thanks for submitting, Seth. Which of the founding fathers is known for having the largest signature on the Declaration of Independence? Was it A, Thomas Jefferson, B, John Hancock, C, James Madison, or D, Alexander Hamilton? If you guessed B, John Hancock, you are correct. John Hancock was also the first official governor of Massachusetts. For more information on John Hancock and his life, feel free to click the link embedded here and found below this video.
Thank you, Jake Wellen. Alright, let's just have you take 5 for a few minutes. Okay. So, as I was saying, in addition to the historical trivia of the day, we will be looking at some learning targets and, of course, the joke of the day at the very end. All right, so let's jump right into the learning targets for today. Specifically, we will be looking at learning targets number 5 and number 6. This would be a great time to go ahead and pull up your learning targets in your Google Slides. You all did such a great job answering the Flipgrid the other day about the 3 G's, God, gold, and glory, and the main reasons, for why Europeans sought to explore the world. Some wanted to spread Christianity, others to acquire fame, glory, and riches. But what no one could predict was just how much of an impact this would have on both the old and the new world. Ooh, Mrs. Barzy. Yes, Jake Wellen. When you say the old world and the new world, do you mean the old world was Europe and the new world was the Americas, correct? Yes, you are exactly right. Now, pipe down and let me continue. Now, what history couldn't have predicted was what would be the results of this exploration. One of the biggest results being
the Columbian Exchange.
So, learning target number 5 says, I can define the Columbian Exchange and I can explain the causes and effects of the Columbian Exchange. So, what is the Columbian Exchange? Well, it's the transfer of goods, animals, humans, and unfortunately diseases between the old world, Europe, and the new world, the Americas, after the voyage of Columbus in 1492. The cause of the Columbian Exchange was the Europeans deciding to explore other areas and then coming into contact with people and resources of the Americas. This is going to cause these two very different cultures who were isolated from each other up until this point to undergo some major changes. So what are the effects? Well, there are quite a few. Maybe pause here and finish writing your response in your learning targets. All right, the effects, well, hold on to your horses. Because here we go. Europeans introduced horses, pigs, sheep, and cattle to the Americas. These have become a big part of our industry for us today. The Americans also introduced corn and potatoes to Europeans. We talked a little bit before we left how potatoes became a huge part of the diet for a lot of people in Ireland, and then that is what later led to the Great Potato Famine. That's why it was so devastating to the people in Ireland, because they depended so much on the potato. Tomatoes were brought from the Americas and changed cooking in Italy. Think about maybe one of your favorite dishes is a pizza, right? And how the tomato sauce is a very essential element of that. Wouldn't have existed if not for tomatoes from the Americas being brought to Europe. Tobacco, coffee, and sugar became very valuable industries in the Americas. Oranges were brought from Europe to the Americas, and oranges today are a major industry in Florida. Many native peoples were enslaved in the Americas or were killed by diseases brought by the Europeans. This kind of goes back to the negative, but a great impact of the Columbian Exchange. And I don't mean great as in like a good thing. I just mean a very large impact that it had on the people living in the Americas. And also, we'll get to the last point here about people in Africa. So later on, vaccines were developed to stop these diseases like smallpox and measles. But unfortunately, those had not been made. So many of the native peoples had not been exposed to it, and many of them died because of that. The last point here, Africans were brought to America to be used as slave laborers. This was done as a response to the rapid and great decrease in population of the native peoples in America. So many Europeans started bringing Africans over to fill that void for labor that they needed to be able to produce these crops. There are many more effects of the Columbian Exchange, but we can see how much our world has been changed today by some of these effects. I tend to really think about this in terms of food, as far as like maybe some clear examples of how it's changed our world today. I love to look at one of my favorite recipes that my family has. This particular recipe is actually from my grandma, and it is for potato salad. She always made the best potato salad. See, the main ingredient is potatoes that come from the Americas. The celery, onions, and pickles, well, cucumbers here, okay, those were from East Asia. The sugar that you see right here, from the Americas. The mustard, believed to have originated from Europe, and then salt, also coming from Asia. Oh, and one of the best parts is a little dash of paprika that is from the Americas. So all of these ingredients work together to make a delicious potato salad. So you see, many of the recipes that we have today wouldn't have been possible without the Columbian Exchange. In fact, this is actually going to be one of your assignments today, to find a recipe to share and to explain about where all of the different ingredients come from. But we will talk more about that in a bit. On to learning target number 6. I can explain how geography impacts the movement of people, products, and ideas. Well, one of the biggest examples of movement of people, products, and ideas is the Columbian Exchange. So how did geography, things like waterways and landforms, play a role? Oh, I think I know. Go for it, Jake Wellen. Well, look at this map here. A lot of the exchange took place along the coast. I mean, this would be because explorers access these places via the water routes, or rather the ocean, I guess, right? So people are going to settle and interact where they have access to water routes and resources. That's exactly right. So geography impacts the movement of people, products, and ideas in that populations are going to be higher along historic trade routes, such as those located along water, and also where there's access to resources. People move and settle to areas where they have access to goods and trade. Some of these towns along the coast have grown into major cities that we have today. So geography is very influential in why people move and settle where they do over time. It's the same reason why you don't find too many people living in the desert, because you don't have access to as many resources. Well, unless you're Roadrunner. He seems to like it in the desert, okay. So in conclusion, the Age of Exploration fueled one of the biggest exchanges of history, known as the Columbian Exchange. The geography of the Americas greatly influenced where the Columbian Exchange took place and eventually where people settled. So, get it? Got it? Good. Where do we go from here? Well, in the next few weeks, we will be transitioning to learning about a time that we've actually already visited before, the Middle Ages. No, not the one in Europe. we will be looking at the Middle Ages in Asia, which is full of great stories and interesting discoveries that I'm very excited to share with you. Well, that's about everything we have for you for the learning segment of this video. We will wrap up with some directions for your activities today, and then a joke of the day. Hey guys, okay, I wanted to take a minute to just go over what it is that you need to do, what the next activities are, just so that way there is no confusion. Alrighty guys, first things first, make sure that you have finished learning targets 5 and 6. If you need to pause the video, go back, rewatch, all that good stuff, totally fine, but please make sure you have completed those. When you've finished your learning targets, go ahead and upload those to Google Classroom. So at this point, we should have learning targets 1 through 6 done, which is all of the learning targets for European exploration. So go ahead and upload those to Google Classroom. There should be a place that says European exploration learning targets. So go ahead and turn that in there. If you are missing any learning targets, just send me a quick email and I can get those to you. Okay, number 2, after you have completed your learning targets, I would like you to complete a new Flipgrid that should be posted. This one is going to ask you to reflect a little bit about geography and how that influenced the Columbian Exchange. This directly relates to learning targets 5 and 6. So if you have questions or you're a little confused, review the video and my explanation of learning targets 5 and 6, and that should help you better answer the Flipgrid question. The third thing that we want you to do is we would like you to submit a recipe that contains ingredients that were exchanged during the Columbian Exchange. And so what we want is you could do a couple different things if you want. You could do something similar to what I did in the video earlier, where I took a picture of the recipe and then I diagrammed the different ingredients and showed from which hemisphere, from which world, whether they're from the old world or from the new world. And I explained a little bit about that. You could do something like that. You could upload a picture of the recipe with diagram, like kind of writing on the picture where everything is from what part of the world. You could create the actual dish that you're wanting to make. That's fine. It's kind of up to you in what format you would like to submit the work. But we would just love for you to find a recipe. Maybe it's a family recipe. Maybe it's just one of your favorite recipes, and we want you to explain how those different ingredients and where those different ingredients came from in the world, or come from in the world. This will also need to be uploaded to Google Classroom. There will be a spot for that assignment to be uploaded as well. It could be a video, it could be an image that is writing on it, or something else. It's up to you. The last thing is actually optional. So you still have the option, like you did for Monday, to submit a history trivia question, or if you already submitted one, you could submit another one if you would like. So again, if it's just optional, if you would like to do that, the Flipgrid should still be active. So thank you to everyone who has submitted so far. I love reading them and trying to figure them out and emailing you with the responses that I have. So please keep those questions coming. That's great. So again, that's optional, but that would be the other item that you could do. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to email me. We could set up a Zoom meeting as well. Just remember my email is kcollins@marymountschools.org, and I hope you all are still doing well and finding a lot of success with online learning. But either way, if you need help, have questions, like I said, just don't hesitate to reach out. So we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Stay awesome.